stop asking whether or not you belong and start asking whether or not you're being of service. You need to adopt the belief that you deserve an extraordinary quality of life and whatever it takes to achieve that. If you don't have the momentum you want in your life right now, you haven't been playing the long game.
Need motivation?
Watch the top 10 of Believe Nation because I love it.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 for my top 10, top 10, 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because chances are you are the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Brendon Burchard, and my take on his top 10 rules for success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Don't avoid difficulties.
Stop avoiding difficulties. What happens is because you don't feel like you belong, or you don't feel like it's real for you, or you don't deserve that level of success, you back off, and your primary strategy is avoidance. You start avoiding those difficult tasks each day that actually give you momentum and progress towards the thing so you can feel it and integrate it and know it is you, right? You're not getting that momentum forward on the things that matter, so you're not getting that identity that says, wow, this is me, I am making this happen. Instead, you're observing it and you're avoiding it. And so as you see people do great things or you avoid the difficult hardships, your psychology starts saying, hey, you're full of crap. You're not even trying. You're not even doing it. You know what? Yeah, you showed up here, but you're just going through the motions and you're not taking on the tough stuff. And here's a weird thing. If you're not getting momentum, you won't have the mindset of authenticity. Like if you're just kind of like kicking tires or dipping your toe in the water, your brain goes, I'm fake. This isn't real. You'll always feel like an imposter if you don't get real momentum. When you get real momentum, your brain goes, hey, this is us. We're doing this. This is real. And the identity of an achiever in that space that you are in, like starts firing, and now it starts feeling real. You're like, wow, I got this. I'm doing this. This is good. And the imposter syndrome starts going away.
Rule number 2, pursue excellence.
Excellence is not the same as perfectionists, right? I think anyone who really believes themselves to be a perfectionist tends to be really hurting themselves. They are hurting themselves because that mentality that it has to be perfect, while they take a lot of pride in it, it actually ends up compromising their health and their relationships. Where excellence, I'd rather you say, I'm a person of excellence than I'm a perfectionist. Because usually those who are perfectionists, they have to ultimately compromise. They have to compromise their health, they have to compromise their relationships, they have to compromise their timelines, because most perfectionists are operating off of fear. They're offering based on, well, if I do that and it's not perfect, there's rejection, there's ruin, there's regret. Where excellence is getting stuff done. There's a momentum to excellence that is lacking in perfectionists, right? A perfectionist might get something done, but they get one thing done each year, and a person of excellence gets 6 things done, and as equal progress and equal breakthroughs.
Rule number 3, live in the necessary zone.
This is not where high performers live. This is where people who ultimately become very dissatisfied with life live. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't be comfortable in your life. There's nothing wrong with being comfortable at some point in your life. It's just, as you know, if you study my work, that sometimes comfort over a period of time becomes boring or dissatisfied. And you feel like there's something missing, and what's missing is what we call the charge. That there is this other level of energy and engagement and enthusiasm with life. But what I'd like to do today is begin with this very simple challenge. And that is, if you feel that you've been here too much, and you know it, because if you're here and only here, your career has flatlined, right? You're in a plateau moment in your career, which is okay, but a lot of people hit that, right? They really worked hard, and then they plateaued. And they're wondering, why am I plateaued? This happens in athletics when I work with high-level athletes. It happens in the Fortune 50 executives I work with. It happens with the celebrities I work with. It's not because they're not smart, they're not driven, not because they're sabotaging themselves, it's not because they're in a bad mood, it's not because the kids, it's not because of the team, that at some point when we hit that plateau, there's usually a reason why. And that is, we started guiding our days and we started thinking about our ambitions from this place, from our comfort zone. And our comfort zone, this line around it, is really a line of preferences. That's it. I don't feel like working that hard today, because you don't have to. You're already there, right? You've climbed the mountain, you're good. And you're like, man, can't I just enjoy the view for a while? And I'm like, absolutely enjoy the view. Love the view. Set up camp on top of the mountains. Shout out from the rooftops. Have children. Start a farm. Start making your vegetables. Live up there in comfort as long as you want, and then one day you'll go, there must be something more. It's just the human ambition for growth, for contribution, for deeper levels of connection and giving that drives so many of us. I love to look at your career, your relationships, your health, and suggest to you that the way out of the comfort zone is not what you might think. Most people think that the way out of the comfort zone is set a goal. They think it's have an aspiration. A lot of people think it's hope. And a lot of people, what they do is they start breaking the comfort zone a little bit, dabbling, trying, taking one trepid step forward, and then kind of falling back. Here's what I've learned about high performers, though. And this was a big breakthrough recently when I was working with a very, very high-level world-class coach for sports teams. And we were talking about high performers and what the difference is between the guys who kind of go through the motions, comfort zone, and the guys who are working on the field. And I believe that the reason that high performers hit excellence isn't because they're in their comfort zone, but they're in the necessary zone. And I know that's such a kind of a clunky phrase. I wish I had a better phrase for it, but let me walk you through what I mean. I think it's important for all of us to find necessary if we are going to amplify our life to the next level. What do I mean? Look, if you're in your comfort zone, you're doing things because it's easy, it's a preference, you got good at it. It's a skill, it's a knowledge, it's a core competency, it's a capability you can do, and you feel good about yourself. The reason high performers stay high performers so long is because they believe it is necessary to continue growing. It's necessary to put in the training, the practice. It's necessary for them to give more, to serve more, to contribute more. It's necessary for them to grow in their character. It's necessary for them to deepen their relationships. It's necessary for them to feel more alive. It's part of their identity that it is necessary to grow. It's not like a hope, an idea. It's not even an aspiration. It's a must. It's a necessity in their day.
Rule number 4, be of service.
If you have that imposter syndrome, like stop worrying about whether you belong. I always tell millennials, especially a lot of folks who I get to coach at that age, successful entrepreneurs and startup founders in Silicon Valley especially, I tell them, hey, listen, stop asking whether or not you belong and start asking whether or not you're being of service. Like part of the imposter syndrome comes from the selfie syndrome. Like just thinking about myself. Am I right? Do I really fit in? Am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? And it's I, worry. It's from this selfie generation where we're all like, like taking pictures of ourselves and thinking about how we portray ourselves all the time. And how do I portray myself? Does it fit in with everything else? And because it doesn't, I don't feel like I belong. Part of it's like, stop asking if you belong. Start asking if you're being of absolute service every day. Because if you feel like you're being absolute service every day, you're not going to worry whether you fit in as much. You're going to worry whether you're getting the job done. right? You're gonna worry whether or not you're actually contributing value. Because I think one part of the imposter syndrome is that people don't feel like they're adding value, and if they're really honest, they know they're not. And because they're not adding value, they feel like, gosh, this isn't right for me, or I'm faking it, and the fact is they are.
My friend Evan Carmichael's book, listen, humans are built to serve. Some people are built to serve the world, others want to serve the 25 people closest to them. But in either case, humans are built to serve. So if you're not happy right now, it's because you're not serving enough. You got to pick up this book because it's so inspiring to remind you that we're all here to contribute, to make a difference, to make an impact, and this is your field guide for that.
Rule number 5, play the long game.
You have to play the long game. Now, I know it's like, yeah, I know that. But listen, if you don't have the momentum you want in your life right now, you haven't been playing the long game. If you've been too stressed or too burned out, or you've overcommitted yourself, you're not playing the long game. If your health sucks, not playing the long game. If you're wrecking relationships, not playing the long game. If you don't have a vibrant, amazing community of peers around you, supporting your dream, cheering you on, not playing the long game. Because playing the long game does not just take what shows up, it architects the future. Oh, write it down. Playing the long game doesn't take what just shows up, it's architecting the future. And I think a lot of people live mediocre versus excellent lives because they weren't playing the long game. They weren't thinking like, okay, 3 years out, how do I scale? 3 years out, how do I stand out? 3 years out, how do I have success unparalleled in this industry? Because you know, and I both know, many of you are here because you're in transition and something new is coming along and you're trying something new. You got a new hobby, a new way to make money, a new way to serve. And sometimes in that transition, you go into survival mode. Survival mode is not the same as the excellence mentality, is it? Right? Survival mode is, let me take what's here, let me do the bare minimum to survive, versus think strategically and play the long game.
Rule number 6, be the best version of yourself.
The last 5 days, were you really trying to be congruent with the best of who you are? Meaning, you know the best of who you are, you know your values. You woke up every day and you're like, I'm being congruent with the best of who I am. Or were you just going through the motions of the day? Were you just reacting throughout the day? Were you actually comparing yourself to other people and letting it get you down? Were you aware of what makes you unique and living into that uniqueness, living into your values and attempting consistently and conscientiously to be the best of who you are? Or were you going through the motions this last week? What I found with high performers is they're more consistently testing their congruence against the standard of their best self, against the standard of what we call their highest self. And it's easy not to do that, especially when you're good, especially when you're talented, especially when things are going well. You can just get up and go through the day and do a good job. But what happens over a series of weeks is one day you don't feel like you're really on your path when you're just going through the motions. One day you wake up and you're kind of like, man, I feel like I'm in a funk, and you don't even know why you're in a funk. You don't know why like things don't pop for you. You don't feel like there's momentum in your life. You want to talk about real misery in your life? Be out of congruence. All right? If you're a person whose identity says, I am a healthy, positive, caring, goal-oriented person, and you just know that's who you are, but then you're not congruent with that, that's where misery comes in. Right? If you identify yourself like the congruence, like the best of who you are, you know that you're a healthy person, but for 5 nights in a row you got drunk, 5 nights in a row you ate crappy food, 5 days in a row you ate too much, you know at the end of the week that does affect your psyche. And why does this matter? Because when you don't have that belief that I am being congruent, or I feel like I am trying to be congruent with the best of who I am, then self-hate comes in. Then that negative sort of framing of everything, I'm not good, I'm terrible, all that stuff comes in. And it's not because, listen, attempting to be congruent with the best of who you are does not necessarily mean every day you were the absolute best of who you are and everything was perfect and you were totally congruent. Listen to the phrasing here. I am attempting to live in congruence with the best of who I can be. I'm trying. It is an active, thoughtful, disciplined approach. It's not like I had a great week, Brendon. It's not about did you have a great week? Because listen, a lot of high performers who I've met, they did have a great week. Their peers are like, oh my God, she's crushing it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe she can manage all those kids so well. I can't believe that they're running the business. So people see you and they're impressed by your achievement. They're impressed by the external reality of your success. And you can have a lot of momentum in your life. But if psychologically, even if it's unconscious, that you know you're not truly living in accordance with the best of who you can be, if psychologically you know you're incongruent with the best of who you can be, it starts like grating at you. And over a period of time, what this does is like, think about it, it's like when you're not congruent, you're just kind of grating at your confidence unconsciously. You might not even know it. It's just like every day I wasn't my best. Every day I didn't try to do something and show who I am. Every day I wasn't authentic, every day. And suddenly over a period of time, that lack of congruence just bores a hole right in your confidence and you don't even know why. You just wake up one day not feeling yourself. And then it becomes like this big challenge because maybe you haven't had training like this on congruence and now it feels like this big, existential dilemma. Oh my God, something's wrong with the universe, something's wrong with me. And the reality is you just weren't trying often enough to be congruent with the best of who you could be.
Rule number 7, stop faking it.
If you have the imposter syndrome and it's firing off and you don't feel like you belong or you feel like you're faking it and you don't deserve it or you're not worthy, well then job number 1 is stop faking it. Start asking, how can you do what you're doing in a way that you feel like is authentic, real, and adding real value the way that you would do it? Stop trying to do it the way everyone else is doing, because that's what faking it ultimately is. It's like you're just conforming and you're copying and you're doing what other people what they're doing, and no wonder you feel like crap. Because if you show up every day and you live like a copy, you're never gonna feel that vibrancy comes from personal freedom, that comes from personal authenticity, that comes from knowing like this day is mine. Because if you live each day as another person, you never get that gift of this day's mine. I got it. This is real for me. And so of course you feel like a fake and a phony because you're showing up running everybody else's playbook, trying to fit into everybody else's thing. And I'm here to tell you, listen, I know I'm being a little hard sometimes in my videos, but I'm here to I do that because I'm cheering you on. I know that no matter who you are and where you're watching this or when you're listening to this, I know this about you. You've got a bottomless level of potential. You have the ability to figure things out and live life on your terms and add a level of value into the world that I can't do, that anybody else you follow, watch, they can't do because they're not you. They haven't lived uniquely in your shoes. They haven't studied what you study or observed what you have observed or dealt with everything that you've dealt with or had the same exact aspirations and dreams. There's 7 billion people on the planet. We're all unique. And so you've got to say, okay, if I feel like an imposter here, what would my truth be in this space? What would, if I stepped away and I just, what would be real for me to do? Your job 1 is to stop faking it, stop conforming, stop copying and say, how would I do this and add a unique value that I'm passionate about? And that helps immediately break some of that imposter syndrome.
Rule number 8, step back and recharge.
Most people, when they've become burned out, it didn't happen immediately. It happened bit by bit by bit. I talked with my coaches this morning about that. It's like when someone's in burnout, don't think it was one big project that tipped them over the edge. It was little decisions, bit by bit by bit by bit by bit, where they gave away their time, they gave away their freedom, they overcommitted, they didn't say yes, they didn't say no, they didn't sort of lay out the turf, they didn't set their boundaries, and over a period of time, they burned out. The problem, which I think you all know, is that if you're a high performer, you can survive on burnout for a long time. A lot of burnouts, they're operating at a high level of efficiency. I mean, They're burned out, but they can go 6, 7 months at that. And they don't take the time to step back and recharge throughout the day, not once in a while on a vacation, throughout the day. They're not using transitions to recharge like we talk about in the book. They're not using those moments to like, whew, reset, recharge, go at it again. And they don't do that because they believe they're invincible. They can't see all these decisions adding up to exhaustion, adding up to burnout, adding up to running out. Like always looking out a few months is part of excellence, isn't it? Otherwise, you can deliver excellence once and then you crash and burn.
Rule number 9, believe in your capability.
You don't have to believe you have all the competencies that are necessary to succeed. You have to believe that you are capable of getting them. There's so many things that I know right now today I am incapable of. I am incapable of many things because I don't have the skill set yet. But believe that I am capable. You give me enough time, energy, resources, mentorship, hard work, and days at something, I will figure it out. I will develop that skill. I will achieve. This is how high performers think. And it's so clear. Underperformers, they get stuck stewing on what they are not capable at, so they stop forward momentum. They go, I'm not good at that, so they stop. I've never learned to do that, so they stop. I suck at this thing over here, so they stop. And you've seen it before with the research on mindset, where high performers have a growth mindset, underperformers tend to have a fixed mindset. That fixed mindset means they've fixed on their identity and who they believe they are and what they're capable of. They think their knowledge, skills, talents, and abilities are fixed. They were born that way and that they're stuck that way in some ways, or that there's a top to their potential. Where high performers have that growth mindset where they really believe, no, I'm capable of becoming more. I'm capable of figuring it out. I am capable of busting through. I'm capable of getting the knowledge, skills, and abilities that are necessary for me to succeed. And that is a motivating driver for them.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is take action.
The world needs action takers right now. It desperately needs it. We have a lot of sideline, conversationalists, a lot of sideline, judgment. We have a lot of people not in the arena, and we need more people in the arena, in play. We can't keep pointing and blaming and saying, this is wrong, that sucks, and everything, but we're not moving our feet forward and demanding change, creating change, fighting for the change that we want. Because we think, well, I don't have the perfect plan, so I don't have anything to fight for. Oh no, you have values, you have passion, you have interests. Fight for those. You have a project you believe in at work, talk about it. Stop waiting for the perfect time to bring it up. There's not going to be a perfect time. Bring it up. You believe in someone and you want to help lift them up? Do it now. Don't wait for the perfect time. It's like we've gotten too sedentary in not just in our physiology, but in our actual actions. A tweet is not an action. Like you got to move. You got to make things happen.
Now I've got a very special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you get motivated, inspired, you have a 35% chance of following through. But when you get motivated, inspired, and you create a plan of action, you have a over 90% chance of following through. And when you share it with other people, it jumps to 95% chance. Your likelihood of following through. And so I want that to be you from this video. We don't just watch videos here, Believe Nation. We do something. We take action. So I want to know your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week. Leave it down in the comments below because I want to celebrate you.
Sometimes people's belief matches up with their worth in such a way that they don't get to experience the brighter colors of life. All they ever get to experience is baseline, good, because I'm worthy of survival. I'm worthy of paying the rent. I deserve to have a good husband. I deserve to have, happy kids. But they don't think about depth. They don't think about richness. They don't think about abundance. So their belief is always just trying to be like, well, I deserve good things. And if your belief is just good things, good things is all you get. You need to adopt the belief that you deserve an extraordinary quality of life and whatever it takes to achieve that. If you gotta repeat that mantra to yourself over and over and over and over again, do that. Look at the subtitle of this book. I don't know if you guys notice. How extraordinary people became that way. Not how good people, not how great people, how extraordinary people. The reason I put that word down is because so many of the 300 badasses I interviewed for this use that word. They didn't want good. They didn't think they just deserved good. They thought they deserved something special. They thought that they deserved and were worthy of that magical part of life where things have vibrancy and zest and pop, where the adverbs and the adjectives had color and richness that were so different than what the regular mundane person wants, who has just gray walls built around them of belief, where it's always just enough, where it's always just gray. That, look, yeah, high performers want more for themselves and their families. You know, a high performer doesn't feel bad about saying, you know what, I want to make 100,000. I want to make $250,000. I want to make $1 million. There's no guilt to that because they believe that they're worthy of it.
If you want 10 more amazing rules from Brendon Burchard, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
One reason people lack motivation is because they lack momentum toward the things that they matter. It's not that they're not getting things done. I mean, you look at them, they got plenty of busy work in their life.